So did you see this today? The silly all-girl rocket go into outer space? Not really. It was sub-atmosphere, something or other. It technically doesn't qualify as space, according to most. And they actually literally had no buttons for them to press inside because they're mostly celebrities. Literally Gayle King, Katy Perry. And before launch, you had to take the glamour shots, right? It's all about Instagram, isn't it? Yeah. Well, anyway, this is Amazon's Blue Origin. And do we give them credit for trying? Not really, because this is dangerous, extremely so. And we can never get accustomed to it. But for some reason, Gayle King and Katy Perry and the rest of them launched today into space.
Liftoff. New Shepard has cleared the tower.
All right, off they go. And of course, you incur all this risk to go into space because you have to perform some very important experiments, right? There's probably something that only they could do, right? Is that why they were chosen? Well, when they got up there, they had a very compressed amount of time, only a few minutes, and they did make the most of it.
Take us space! Woo!
Having fun, Katie? You brought up a little daisy from planet Earth to remind you so you wouldn't get homesick during your 15-minute voyage? They just screwed around up there. And they didn't even wear space helmets. Look, we should be doing more than this, and thank God Elon Musk is serious because this doesn't look too serious to me. What was the altitude they achieved? 62 miles. All right, 62 times 5,000, that's pretty high. Then again, the first American to ever go into outer space was Alan Shepard, and he did it 64 years ago, May 5th, 1961. And he went 116 miles high, the first man. So today they did not even get close to what they did all the way back in 1961. There it goes. Can we launch this baby? Light that candle. I think we have video, don't we? All right. We don't have the video, but let's talk about what, yeah, isn't that neat? One guy at the top. One guy. And Alan Shepard. He was an American hero. And now it's Gayle and Katy coming back, doing interviews, posting on Instagram and that kind of thing. This, in my opinion, obscures the contributions of real astronauts, and it also obscures the real risk that is involved in this kind of travel. That's Krista McAuliffe, people. Remember her? The first teacher, the first civilian teacher, so-called ordinary person to go into outer space. Well, she was selected to, and you'll know what happened to the Challenger. An extraordinary woman, a teacher from New Hampshire, and she beat out something like 50,000 applicants for this chance. She said it was like winning the lottery. You know, that's how she felt the odds were stacked against her. A few months before that fatal voyage, she was on the Today Show.
I still can't believe that I'm going to actually be going into that shuttle. It just really doesn't seem possible. Maybe when I'm on the launch pad, it will.
What are you most excited about?
Seeing the Earth from that perspective of that small planet, you know, it's such a big place here, but being able to look at it from a new perspective, and I hope I can bring that wonder and that excitement back to the students.
Maybe just a little bit of fright, too?
Not yet. Maybe when I'm strapped in and those rockets are going off underneath me, there will be. But space flight today really seems safe.
That's what we told ourselves in the mid-1980s. And then we learned otherwise, in the worst way possible. And I fear that we're going to learn that lesson all over again as these astronauts, so-called, are going up into outer space. That's Krista McAuliffe's family dealing with the unimaginable. They turned out at Cape Canaveral and they saw the rocket blow up. What, 73 seconds or so into flight? So when we go back into space, or whatever you want to call it, for stuff like this,
Liftoff.
Yeah.
New Shepard has cleared the tower.
You know, that Katie and Gail King can brag about it. It just doesn't seem right. And it doesn't seem to honor our kind of legacy of space exploration. And neither does taking these characters up into space. These folks, how about Michael Strahan? Is there any real purpose here? William Shatner, Captain Kirk. I like Kirk, but he had to ham it up, of course. They're not even wearing space helmets. That doesn't even seem safe. And of course, Jeff Bezos' fiance got a ride. Remember her from the inauguration? Our legacy of space travel and those who were lost. Apollo 1 in 1967, I believe. It burned on the launch pad. And then the Challenger. We talked about it with Krista McAuliffe. And then the Columbia. And now we're just kind of screwing around, treating this, I think, way too lightly. And folks, who do we have here? From the top left, let's take it full. We have David Brown, Rick Husband, Laurel Clark, Kaplana Chawla, Michael P. Anderson, William C. Willie McCool, and Ian Ramon. Bottom left, that's Apollo 1. White, Grissom, and Chafee. And if you could drop the banner, please. On the lower right, that's the Columbia. We'll start with the front row. Michael J. Smith, Francis Dick Scobie, Ronald McNair. And in the back row, Ellison Onizuka, Krista McAuliffe, Gregory Jarvis, and Judith Resnick. This is serious stuff. And I don't know, taking it too lightly. Way too lightly. Next, please.
No guardrails wants to take away our rights and our freedoms. And listen, while he cloaks himself in the blanket of freedom, what he's offering isn't freedom at all. Because hear me on this, it's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read.
Kind of fear-mongering, huh? No, Josh, what we say is adult-themed books. Pornography should not be in the hands of children. This is Governor Josh Shapiro, and we're going to forget that he's a jerk. We're going to forget that for a moment because something awful happened at his place of residence, the governor's mansion in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Somebody firebombed it, actually threw Molotov cocktails right into the mansion itself. And here's what it looks like normally. And it was torched. The guy threw a couple of Heineken bottles of beer, but put gasoline in it. And these were Molotov cocktails, and the damn place almost burned to the ground. Now, fortunately, nobody was hurt, but the governor, his wife, kids, they were all there when this happened. The governor actually initially spoke very, very well, movingly, actually, about what had just happened and his thankfulness for the first responders and even for the Trump administration.
Lori and I are overwhelmed by the prayers and the messages of support that we've received from all across Pennsylvania and all across the United States.
Very nice. And he seemed to be really moved. Let's take a look at the suspect, the person in custody. Reportedly, he's admitted to it. His name is, let's put up the next thing, Cody Balmer, 38 years old, mentally ill, according to the mother, previously charged with theft, forgery, and assault. Politically, he seems to be all over the map. And this guy's in custody, and they're charging him to the hilt. All right, so the governor, very, very appropriate, and we're so glad that nothing really awful happened to him or his family, right? Just property damage, and that can be fixed. All right. And then he went back to being, well, somebody I'm not that fond of.
We don't know the person's specific motive yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay.
Okay, hey, we didn't do it, all right? They take this opportunity to lecture all of us like we're all in trouble somehow for this horrible, horrible thing when it was the work of a wacko. I've seen this before, especially with Democrat governors. Wow, governor, it goes to their head. You know, you're supposed to run the state parks and the highways and, you know, kind of stay out of our lives. But after a bombing, actually, on a subway in a shooting incident, you know, she just acted like it was somehow an affront to her, and a bunch of bad boys were screwing around in her pool one night.
We say no more. No more mass shootings. No more disrupting lives. No more creating heartbreak for people just trying to live their lives as normal New Yorkers. It has to end, and it ends now.
See what I mean? It's just a little, I don't know. And back to Josh Shapiro here, okay? Governor Shapiro, you should think about, well, I think he threw fuel on the fire during Black Lives Matter. There is a rot at the center of our society, and this week it was laid bare on the street under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer. A rot? We still live with the consequences of slavery and racism. It has been institutionalized over generations in our criminal justice system, our economy, our healthcare system, and our schools. This kind of over-the-top rhetoric, I believe, justifies people burning down police stations, throwing rocks at cops, and who knows what else. After all, if it's all racist, then you gotta burn it down, tear it down, right? Okay, another thing about this guy, you just heard the way he talked, right? He sounded a certain way. He sounded kind of normal. Put this guy in front of a crowd, and I swear he thinks he's Barack Obama.
From the guy running on the other side. Oh, y'all know who I'm talking about, I guess. You see, Philly, I know y'all. We walk around with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because we remember, right? Donald Trump? Well, he's now got a partner with him. Y'all see that guy? Yeah.
All right, that's not him. That's not authentic. And he drinks it up. He loves the power. This is something I believe he's been dreaming about since the 8th grade. Pump it up.
Done for all of you.
Oh, yeah, you own it, pal.
Going back to a king.
Ooh, look at him go. Soak it in.
And we're not going back.
I'm sorry. Who does he think he is? Some sort of an emperor? And the thing is, they kind of do. They kind of do. I'm really sorry something happened to his house, but maybe we should revisit this whole thing of these guys even having special houses. You're in charge of the state parks, the state police, and the roads, okay? Don't let it go to your head. And that's what we see right there.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.